So, welcome back, everyone. Day 8. We're on day 8 of the Healthy for the Holidays series. And we've been talking about the nervous system this week. I've gotten a number of questions from you about the nervous system. The nervous system seems to be quite a buzzword on the social medias these days. People are talking a lot about the nervous system. And I'm giving you a very broad stroke overview because to really get you familiar with the ins and outs of the nervous system and how to track your nervous system, what the different nervous system states are, and how your nervous system was created and toned and developed, and using the vagal brake and all this stuff that is incredibly valuable information. I need a lot more time than 10 to 15 minutes every morning. So I'm giving you a really broad stroke so that you can start to get a sense of the nervous system and its importance and maybe its impact in your life. But please don't take this as your sort of schooling or class or teaching about the nervous system as a whole, because it's just not doing the whole thing justice. Of course, if you want to go deeper into that, there's a number of ways we can do that together. But this is not the deep dive into it. It's your sort of introduction to it. And maybe it gets you thinking about how and why your nervous system is impacting you and how that might be important, or how it might play a role in your food behaviors. Okay. So just to quickly recap, on Monday, I introduced, that the nervous system is basically the control panel for your entire life, right? To oversimplify it, we don't do anything. We don't think, feel, breathe, speak, anything, move without the nervous system. Okay. So it's incredibly important, this control panel. And then yesterday we talked about neuroception, that your nervous system is scanning the environment always, micro moment to micro moment, looking for cues of safety or danger, inside, outside, and between, inside your body, outside in your environment, and between the people that you're with at all times. In fact, your nervous system is reacting to watching me right now, and it is engaging with my nervous system, even through a screen, and even if you're not watching this live, right? Your nervous system is reacting to my voice, my tone of voice, the look on my face, any triggering words or components that I'm speaking about, right? Your system is reacting to me. So this is inside, outside, and between. That's the process of neuroception. And today I want to introduce the concept of story follows state. Now, this is important because once you really understand this concept that story follows state, we can start to look at the state of our systems differently, and also the way that we react to people and interact with our environment differently, because instead of looking externally in order to make us feel better, we start to turn the lens inward and say, oh, what's happening in my state and what do I need to feel more regulated? So let me quickly give you a rundown about what this looks like. Yesterday, we talked about neuroception, your body, your nervous system. The central and peripheral nervous system is constantly scanning the environment, picking up and looking for signs and cues of safety or danger. That's its job, okay? And those cues happen below the level of our cognitive awareness. So that's why it's called neuroception. It's in our neurology, it's in our cells, it's in our system, it's in our nerve endings, right? It's happening below the level of our cognitive awareness, and it's scanning the environment for cues of safety and danger, right? That impacts what we call our state, our nervous system state. And we can be in a state, and I won't go too deep into this today, we can be in a state from polyvagal theory, ventral vagal connection, sympathetic activation, or dorsal vagal shutdown. Connection, activation, or shutdown. Those are the words I want you to remember. Our states flow constantly from connection to activation to shutdown, connection, activation to shutdown, and back, shutdown, activation, connection, activation, shutdown. always throughout the day. Your state, the state of your body, your system, your cells, your organs, the chemical nerve cells that send signals to your brain to have an emotion. That is your state of being, okay? When I say story follows state, the neuroception picks up on cues and it sends signals then, once the state is established by those cues, then it sends signals to the brain for you to make a story about what it is that you are experiencing. This is incredibly important. Story, I'm anxious, I'm mad, I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm whatever. That story comes after the state is established. We experience something first in the body, then we send signals to the cognitive brain, and that cognitive brain makes a story about it. Now, as far as we know, we are the only organisms that do this, right? Because we are the only organisms with language that we know of. And so that language wants to make a story of the state of our physical environment. So we put words to it like anxiety, depression, fear, frustration, joy, elation, cheer, happiness, sadness, blah, 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 right? That story, I want everybody to hear this loud and clear. That story, the words that we say come after the body has established its state. Now, why is this so important and how can we use this? Because we are accustomed, we are attuned to saying, I feel mad because he X. I feel sad because she Y. I feel this because of that, right? We create a story to explain our state. Sometimes that can be helpful because we can understand ourselves better. And sometimes we can avoid situations that we know will create a state that we don't want to feel. For instance, if you know that, I don't know, I'm making this up. Every time you walk down to that corner of the street, there's a homeless person yelling and it makes you feel frightened, then that story can now advise you to walk a different route. Sure, sometimes our stories can be really useful for us to help protect us from a state that we don't want to feel. However, oftentimes our stories get in the way of us being able to identify and then truly have options of changing the state of our system. So if I say, she said that made me mad, now I'm relying on her to be different in order to regulate my state. If instead I say something like, oh, my state feels like this. I am, after the conversation with her, I am activated. I am fidgety. I am sweating. My heart is pounding. It's hard for me to think straight right now, right? That's very different than saying, she did this and now I'm mad. When we look at our state and say, this is the experience of my state, now I can say, what would help me feel better? What would help me regulate? I have just said, my heart's beating, my blood's pumping, I can't think straight. I'm sweating, I'm feeling words rise in my stomach that I want to say. Now I can address my own internal state because I have identified what's happening for me. Now, when we turn the lens inward and instead of look at what did they do, and instead say, what do I need? This creates a whole different environment in our world, okay? And the reason I'm bringing this up to all of you in this group and who's watching this is because so many of our decisions around food and health and wellness and exercise and are entangled with these states that we're in: emotional eating, binge eating, addictive eating, habitual eating, right? Mindless eating is all connected with our states of being. And we have created stories, right? I eat and I can't stop. I'm sad, so I need ice cream. Once I start, I can't stop eating. I need to numb out so I don't feel this feeling. So I'm going to binge, right? We create these stories about our states, and then our behaviors follow those stories. What I'm offering is the opportunity to turn the lens inward and start experiencing our states in a different way. So like I said earlier, let's say let's bring it to the holidays, because that's what we're talking about here, right? The Healthy for the Holiday series. And you're on the phone with your mom and you're making plans for the holidays, and she's talking and you feel yourself reacting in some way, right? And it's building, and you guys have this pattern of behavior where she says this and makes these demands, and are you going to have this? And you're starting to get stressed, and you get off the phone, and what happens? 20 minutes later, you're into the ice cream, right? And your story is, talking to my mom makes me stressed, and now I'm going to eat ice cream. Now that's your truth. If instead we're on the phone with mom and she's starting to make these demands, and she's starting to say, okay, but we're going to be here at this time, and you need to have this, and da da da, and you start recognizing your state. What is happening for me? My palms are sweating. I'm starting to get nervous and twitchy, and I have a sudden desire to get off the phone, and whatever it is. And you're starting to go inward. This is what's happening in my state. And instead of saying, mom makes me want to eat ice cream, now we can say, I'm dysregulated. My state after that phone call feels uncomfortable. What do I need to get myself back to a place of feeling connected? Do I need to say something? Do I need to speak up for myself? Do I need to go for a walk? Do I need to take a deep breath? Do I need to do some tapping? But the point is, when we turn the lens inward, now we have the opportunity to look at what our systems need to feel more regulated, rather than say, well, I can't help it. Mom speaks to me this way every time. She does this every time. And every time I say something, she ignores me. Instead of putting your state regulation in the hands of someone else, or your experience with them, or, they had to speak to you in a certain way, or not send you the email that made you uncomfortable, or whatever. When you turn inwards and look at the state of your state, and get familiar with what your state needs in order to move back into regulation, you have so much more, I'm going to use the words power and control over your nervous system, but that makes it sound like it's mechanical. Truly, it's a connection with the nervous system. It's a alignment. It's a way for you to say, oh, I can recognize when I'm out of alignment and when I'm dysregulated, and I have an idea of how to put myself back into a more regulated state. This is a powerful, powerful, powerful tool that everyone can learn, because what it does is it puts us in the driver's seat of our regulation and dysregulation, and it puts us out of the situation where we're relying on everyone else around us to behave in a certain way in order for us to feel good about ourselves. Okay. Now, this happens all the time over the holidays, right? Families and traditions and, shopping to be done, and, kids out of school, and all of this stuff brings up a lot of dysregulation in the system. And instead of looking at it like, well, I need my kids to go back to school, and I need my mom to not say this, and I need my husband to actually help out, whatever, that's relying on external factors in order for you to be regulated. When we start working with our nervous system in a different way and understanding our states and our stories, we can go inward and recognize, oh, this is what I need in order to make myself feel more regulated, or in order to have the capacity to have this conversation with mom, or in order to have more patience with my kids. These are the things that I need. So instead of relying on external circumstances, now we're going inward towards alignment. Okay. All right. I know these are big concepts, and I know that they probably take a lot more context than I'm able to give in this, what have we been on 20 minutes or so? So please, please, please get on the wait list for the shift if you want to learn more deeply about this. Talk to me about my one-on-one if you want to learn more deeply about this. There's a lot of ways to go deeper into this context, but I hope that that overview, that brief overview, gives you some things to chew on and think about. All right, everybody, same time, same place. We'll see you tomorrow.